Hello and welcome to the next part of our life. Last time we ended the second step, so now we'll see how it goes when going over to the third step. So let's see. The start of classes ended a relaxed 3 days of summer. It didn't take long for you to get back into the swing of the school year routine. Schedules and homework became the new normal. Derek wasn't around nearly as much. With school and after-school activities, there weren't many opportunities for him to take the trip out to your neighborhood. Sometimes you would hear that he was at a training camp or something like that, but you weren't always sure what he was up to. I don't want to lose contact with Derek, come on, that would be kinda sad. The Jeremy kid did disappear after that summer and no one ever heard from him again. Where he went or what he might be up to was a mystery. You saw more of Miranda around since you had hung out with her on her birthday. She had opened up to you. The two of you talked regularly. She was the same towards Cover. After a while, all three of you developed a real friendship together. More summers came and went like the waves of the shore are coming in and out. In your second year of high school, someone new started to visit Sunset Bird, a sunny girl named Terry Brooke. She was a friend Cover made due to them both being ocean obsessed. Terry was more than glad to befriend you too. Terry was more than glad to befriend you too. Someone close to Cover had to be good company, she felt. You were pleased to get along with her as well. Funnily enough, Terry was also extremely tight with Miranda, who she had known for even longer than Cover. The four of you were able to create a small friendship cycle. Nice. As for your home life, the Moons had also had developments. Changing laws and public perception countrywide made it possible for your moms to openly wear their wedding rings without questions. It wasn't possible before. Though they had a wedding years ago, it was only recently that the union was officially recognized everywhere in the US. It was a good day to say the least. Elizabeth came into her own and stopped being quite as irritable. She was no longer worried about perceived childishness as she grew up for real. She didn't even mind being called Lizzie again, although most people used Liz. She eventually graduated high school and moved out to attend college in another state. It was a lot for you to adjust to your older sister being gone. Liz never let you forget her role in your life though and kept in touch. Cover's relationship with his family improved over the years. Kara visited several times after that summer and things became easier between the two. He was also closer with his dad than ever before. You knew they talked more, and that helped prevent a lot of friction before it could start. And Cover only continued to open up to his parents and the rest of the world. He was so bright he shone. He would willingly join conversations, make jokes, and put in an effort to not use overly blunt phrasing. Cover had shifted from preferring athletics to becoming more seriously studious as his schooling went on. Cover loved staying inside and learning just as much as ever. By this point, his studies had paid off. He had been right near the top of the class by his last years of high school. Things had shifted between you and Cover. You had been friends for years, but the closer you became, the more you felt for him. You didn't view him in a purely platonic way anymore. It was so strange to look back on it all. Your future faded into your present, and then it was simply the past. Even the most fundamental parts of your life couldn't last forever. You felt that the most probably the day you inevitably graduated high school. It was over and you would not be going back ever again. From now on, what came next was your choice. You would be directing your own life. That was where you were currently. The summer after school had ended. The first summer of true freedom. What used to be a retrieve from the typical was now going to be your first step into adulthood. One fine summer morning, you look in what had become a very special scene. the whole family having a meal together. Lizzie is looking very good. Your big sis Liz still hadn't lived at home full-time for a couple of years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here since it was an off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in town because you had now also graduated high school, so who knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future. You watched on as Liz laughed good-naturally over a comment Ma made. Her Elizabeth-only mindset had only been a phrase. Nearly any nickname was welcomed at this point in her life. Strangely, even though she had moved away, she lately felt closer to her than you had in a long time. You idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absent-mindedly. Still a picky eater, late, sadly. And the meal you had reflected that. The moms were happy to make food that fit your needs, as long with dishes for themselves that didn't though. You made often your own food nowadays. But it wasn't only you who had a diet that excluded certain things, as Liz had been vegetarian for a while. They look visibly older. I'm somewhat sad about it, but it's the way things go. Conversation had gone on idly without you fully taking in the words, until your ears were piked when Ma started on a bit of town gossip. And that's how I heard the news. Alright, now stop burying the lead and tell us, what is this so-called news? Ma giggled as she cast a look across the table, satisfied that she had everyone's attention. Well, it turns out the Donnells won't be renting out the condo up the street as per Sunset Bird tradition for the first time in what must be nearly 2 decades. A chorus of gasped and shocked expressions were all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows pinched. Ma may consider them by name, but you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 who crossed their paths. Your ma continued on with the stories, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did so. They decided not to take big trips anymore. Friends and family will be visiting them at their home. That's nice for them then. Have a good summer, mean grandparents with no grandkids away from us. My thoughts exactly. Be nice, kids. You don't want to end up like them, do you? You and your sister cracked smiles at the joke. At least I won't be here to yell at my children anymore. Lonnie. And that blunt comment got laughter out of all of the 3 of you. Engrossed in conversation once more, you continued to chat with your family until the meal was over. Third time's the charm. As it went, once the food was eaten, the cleanup had to be done. Liz took the role of washing the dishes and passed them on to you for drying and putting them away. You had the set of cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf of the cabinet. Still average height, I did not grow at all. It was simply the lot in your life. You always hovered around the expected height for your age. I don't think about it much, except for the fact that I really didn't grow more since I was 13, and that's quite something. It was a struggle for you because you remember how you used to feel so content about it when you were younger. Liz shook you out of your initial musing by starting up an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You would think after the first year or 2 I would have a handle on things, but no. You stole a glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. I guess it's only fair. My first round was pretty general classes, and year one of my architecture major was the basics. Now it feels serious. I actually have to know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed at the plates held more force than necessary. Hmm. I know you can handle it is a very nice thing to say, but I've also struggled for university, and those words don't mean shit when you're actually struggling. So let's just hear her vent. There wasn't much you could add to it. Your older sister mouth quirked into a small smile. It'll be fine, one way or another. Oh, but I'm not trying to scare you away from college, if that's ever your plan. What is going on with that anyway? You came to a film conclusion recently. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I decided I don't know, the last 2 years of high school that I wanted to go to university. You answered the question as much as you were able to, and willing to. This smile grew more reassuring as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You can make your ideas happen, I'm sure. Sometimes it felt hard to believe your public schooling experience was over. In the end? Hmm. Hmm. It's a bit hard to say. I don't know what the average grade is. I guess it's more here? I didn't have to work extremely hard. And I guess I am slightly above average. Uh, hmm. Just glad high school wasn't that nice. You achieved a lot, and you could take what you learned with you moving forward. Liz picked up on the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the topic. You're a good kid, Rina. Do what's best for you and we'll be here to back you up. Thank you. And then Liz happily passed the final dish your way. She waved a soapy-soaked hand as farewell and moved on to her next task for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting the last pieces put back where they belonged. You eventually moved on to a new chore, but that was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. I did have a proper ringtone, but nowadays I don't really have the. In university, it would be pretty bad if the phone rings, so I just have it permanently on vibrate. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple of years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday present from your parents. They decided which model to get. But you got to pick the color. It was... if I could pick the color of my cell phone instead of just always being a boring black. I mean, I like black, but it's always black, so... Purple is nice. If I had the ability to put a charm on it, then I would. That is kind of cute. I did also play Lake of Voices. You know what? It's the cutest option, so let's just take it. You were pleased when you finally had a prominent place to use the gift. The screen lit up as you gave the little device a swipe with one finger. You were informed by a caller ID that it was Lee. You weren't surprised. Despite having buzzier and buzzier lives and not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin of the same age. Especially once the miracle of the both of you having your own phones actually happened. She got hers first though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar bubbly voice came through right after.
Hi.
Hey Rina! Hi Lee. I trust I'm not interrupting anything major? Only some cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. A distraction from that must have been desperately needed. Hmm.
My pleasure.
It is my pleasure, she giggled, and you could hear the jangling of her jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. Woo! That's good. Right after high school, I did look for a job, but I didn't get one yet. Only when I started university I got one. It was very... I hope I never have to do a part-time job again in my life. I already had enough. But I don't really have to follow the same timeline now, do I? Yeah, let's just say I got one just now. Like you, Lee had started dipping her toes into the workforce as of late. It made keeping in touch frequently even more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal.
Cool.
Cool. That's you then, so how's Mr. Coverholden doing? There was a teasing bent to her tone. She was never willing to let up on what was going on between the two of you. But that name was incredibly familiar to your ears. Cover, your next door neighbor for the past decade at this point. I can just declare my boyfriend, okay? I think I like the middle option the most. I am expecting something, so... I do want to get to the dating stage in this step. Cover was very special to you. You could only dream that it was mutual. You knew you wouldn't be able to tell him that, though. Maybe you would take the plunge. Are you even surviving without the boy being 10 feet away at all times? Or is everything right with the world again and he's back? No, Lee, he isn't here. Just like he wasn't here yesterday, or the last time you asked, or the time before that.
Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, I want to visit soon, and he needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. For the past couple months, and the last few weeks especially, Cover had been going to his mom's place in Nevada. The two of you still regularly stayed in contact over texts and calls, but still, your mind began to drift back in time to all the prior trips he'd taken to visit her. Almost every year he would have to go away for a while and then he would be back. It's sad and it's a sad and lonely thing. Hmm. You were incapable of doing anything until you was back. That's kind of harsh. I think that's it. That's cute. Some were just to borrow and others were for him to keep forever. You sent your letters well aware in return. That's how it was in the past, but lately he had been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became too impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Carver hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plans were after graduation. Carver was hesitant to speak on that, even with you. It couldn't be avoided forever though, he both knew that.
Well,
Maybe we should switch this up to a non-cover related topic? Yeah. The rest of the conversation rolled on. Not much longer though. Lee had to go and you needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes. Then you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came in. Oh no. As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Wanna go out of this tiny town to do some shopping in a real city? I can do that if you want me to come.
good.
Good, I'm driving. That's pretty much accurate. Go and get your wallet and anything else. We're going now. With that note, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from your bedroom. You had money saved up from all the part-time work you'd done, as well as from gifts you received. After making sure both of you were fully prepared for the long haul to the largest city in the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, with light conversation about what shops to shop at and the radio blasting. The trip there breezed by, and in what felt like no time, you had gone from cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. This had her interests to check out and you yours. Pretty much the same ones. When turning a corner down a new length of the mall, your eyes caught on a little gift shop. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating high school. I think I would have already gotten one. It was something you had known you wanted to do, and you were looking forward to seeing his reaction. Graduation may have already come and gone, but Copper wasn't really around, so you had to wait. Eventually, the mall was explored in full, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, you decided to walk over some smaller stores nearby. Liz had many thoughts on the topic. Honestly, malls are not bastion of society. Even smaller stores require extra distance. The brands are much more... Then your sister abruptly stopped speaking and walking, right in the middle of the path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut up for a moment. Liz? The attempt to catch her attention was unsuccessful. Something else had all her focus. Before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. Rina, don't draw attention, but look. What? With a harsh whisper and a subtle jerk of her head, she urged you to once more. Look. You followed her gaze as best as you could to a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path. Okay. You faced back to your sister with a confused expression and an unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there?
Rina, doesn't one of them seem familiar?
She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked into the group once again, and this time you saw what you were seeing. Among the collection of strangers was brown hair, grey eyes, and lots of freckles.
That's Shiloh, our Shiloh, from when we were kids.
Yep, that was definitely him.
I can't believe it. He's honestly just there.
That's hilarious. That's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We would have to pull him away from all those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Your mouth opened to reply, but she cut it off with her own answer to the question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shiloh, and then we can act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know without a doubt it's him. Rina, keep an eye out to see if he looks. Can't you just talk to him normally? Likely without even hearing what you had to say, Liz put her plan into action. Shiloh! She loudly projected the word across the way and then put on an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene while brushing at the skirt of her dress. Act normal. In a supremely awkward moment, you could only stand there as attention in the area shifted to the two of you thanks to your sister's shout. But after many stopped bystanders who came to alter to your presence, one of them was the boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. He looked. A wide grin took over Liz's face. She pushed to the rim of her sun hat up and away from her face while swishing back around to greet her old friend directly. Shiloh! Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet without really closing the gap. She wanted him to come over. Who you presume to be Shiloh looked surprised at the call out. He stole a quick glance at the crowd he was with and hesitantly glanced back your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze straight on him, and ultimately he broke away from the rest of them. He is so short compared to her. After a light-footed jog across the brick path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of Liz and you. Hi, I like your hat. Just a simple greeting had Liz giggling. Hello, I'm not sure you remember this, but I'm Lizzie and that's Rina. We were all friends when we were little kids. His already wide eyes grew even larger, the gaze starting between you and Liz. His previously chipper demeanor faded into something delicate. Oof. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge. Still, Liz was undeterred. It was a long time ago, you were really young, I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positive I'm right. You're exactly the same. That face, the freckles, how generally you try to phrase things, you're even still wearing that hat. Instinctively he looked up at his headwear with creased brows, not making the connection on why the hat meant something to her. Okay. We knew each other, okay? An easy smile settled on him, on a smile followed Liz's speech. He was picking his next words carefully. And then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice busting into the conversation. Shiloh, what are you doing? The rest of the group already left. A field trip is not a vacation, we're on a schedule. Startled, your head snapped towards the path. A distinctly unhappy individual with piercing magenta eyes, dark brown skin, and a sharp jaw stormed your way. He even carried a cloud of authority with him despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to ditch. Shiloh, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add the explanation of his absence as the stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized you as someone they knew, but it was a tiny misunderstanding. It was not. Liz theoretically as well as literally put her foot down at that, stomping in frustration, getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion. We do know you. Shiloh merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was pained. Sorry. You honestly couldn't tell if he was apologizing for the upset feelings of your sister, or the palpable dissatisfaction of his new acquaintance. That in itself was very Shiloh-like. Oh, you know him? Is that it? The stranger spoke in a very dismissively scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him it was almost amusing, almost. But the sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated itself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you. I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Charlotte's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you had any importance in his general day-to-day existence, it would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any travel connection you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us and you've survived without him. Now stop loitering around the road. It's rude. Excuse me? I'm feeling a bit bad for this. Excuse me? We're the rude ones? The high-strung ranting got an audible gasp from Shiloh, who finally started to speak up again in defense. Nay, that's really mean. It's also true, we are leaving. With that declaration, the unofficially introduced Nate indignantly spun on his heels and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shiloh would follow behind. Oh, people sure can have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try to get along? That's not hard. Don't worry though, I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry I can't stay to talk with you, but I hope you have a really nice life. Bye! Bye! And that was it. His final parting words given, Shiloh left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life that he had to live. Liz watched his exit, stunned, only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone as quickly as he appeared. It happened so fast. You hadn't even been able to get a word in. She sighed, all the energy she built up releasing with the breath. I could have told him his last name was Fields, his birthday is October 30th. That would have proved it, but no. That could have been a nice moment, and instead it was disappointing. Aren't you gonna go after him? Liz merely shook her head, pushing off Charlotte's thoughts. I think we can leave it there, thanks. He's in the middle of a high school field trip, and it was already enough being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there, enjoying his own part of the world. Though, if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. She laughed, but you could tell there wasn't much humor to it. She was mad at that guy, even if she was happy to let Shiloh go. Maybe they're only with each other because of the trip, and it's not usually how things are. True, we can only hope the same for him as he does for us. Have a nice life, Shiloh. Liz smiled at you. It was the self-confidence you knew so well from her. Come on, kid, we'll finish our own trip. Yep. No matter how evil of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you simply had to accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing until it was time to return home. By the time you arrived back, the sun had already begun to set. You arched your back as you stretched your arms towards the ceiling. While it had been a good day, it had enough activity to cover an entire week. Liz tried to hide the yawn behind her hands. You weren't the only one feeling worn out. I'll be I'll be heading up to your room, I mean the guest room, since mine stopped being available as soon as I was out of the door. Her tone was light. She had gotten quite a lot to say on the subject when you first taken over her bigger room after she left for college. But there had been many trips back home for her since then. The room hasn't been hers for years. It was more of a running joke now that you continue to bring up the topic to this day. Just wanted to follow my big sister's shoes. Flattery as a compliment can only get you so far, Rina. A small laugh was shared between you and your older sister. You better believe you'll be back in the guest room when you've got your own place and we're both in town for a visit. What a reasonable and mature suggestion. I'll think about accepting it. She flashed a familiar grin and you couldn't help but feel glad she was back around, even if it was temporary. With that, she plodded off to the spare room. You were ready to do the same. Moving into the new space was your first opportunity to decorate from scratch. Ooh. Oh. This looks the best. Must honestly say, blue walls make me aggressive. My own walls are white and red, so... Oh, does look nice. The walls do look a bit empty without all those. Stethoscope is wearing. That's... Yeah, I can live with that. I can live with this. You were really satisfied with the feel of your tiny part of the house, of the world. As your thoughts drifted, you tried to bite down another yawn. It was no good. Your bed was now lodged in your mind, and all you could think about was collapsing on it. You trudged upstairs to your room. Stepping inside, you closed the door behind you, blocking the rest of the house. When you turned back around, you realized you were not alone there. Comfortably perched on the windowsill was someone very familiar to you. That's an entrance! Holy shit! I actually didn't expect that. Did you climb up the window again, boy? Culver Holden. Yeah, I think her is a good response. Yeah. Surprise? His tone was easy and relaxed. It certainly was a surprise. You hadn't expected him to be within the state, never mind your own house. He hadn't answered how he had suddenly just appeared back in Sunset Bird. Though to be fair, you had been astounded there hadn't been much of an opportunity for him to chat with you. Thankfully, Cover was only waiting for a good moment to start, and began to explain. I got in about 15 minutes ago. No one was home, so I figured I would come in the usual way. The window. He did climb the window again. A small smile formed on his face. You were still staring at him, unable to blink in case he disappeared. You could still barely believe that he was really there, mere feet away from you. I left my bags in your backpack. I left my bags in your backpack. I hope that's alright. That was when you truly understood. Cover had come straight to you upon getting back to town. You were his first port of call, taking precedence above all else. Even though you hadn't been in when he called, Cover had ensured that he would see you at the earliest opportunity rather than allowing his plans to change. I mean, it's something I would rather laugh about. The light bubbled out of you as a fit of a chuckle. He could never even attempt to hide how he felt about anything, including you. Carver dropped from his seat on the windowsill, landing lightly on his feet. He made his way over to you, the smile still resting on his face. Oh boy. Let's be honest. Jump into his arms. Hmm. His hair is very ruffable. Carver didn't resist as you rubbed his head, trousering his soft hair between your fingers, though he did manage to sigh as he avoided your gaze. I missed you too. Even if he hadn't said it outright, you would have gotten a message from his body language. Carver was grinning widely, his raised cheeks burying his eyes, which gleamed like hidden gems. But he looked at you as you were the most exciting treasure of all. Goddamn, people. Goddamn. This really is gonna turn out to be a slow burn if this isn't gonna turn quickly into dating, then they're both just gonna be so insufferable. Was it a good trip? Yeah, I had a great time. Carver told you about how his trip back had gone. His mom was doing really well. She had a project in the works that she was thrilled about. As a result, Carver was going to be sticking around in Sunset Berth for the time being. Things were settled, as much as they ever could be. With Carver back once more, you could feel at ease. Carver stretched his arms out over his head, his eyes on the window and the world beyond. The sun had set while he'd been busy reuniting.
Well,
I should probably get my stuff and see Dad. He glanced over to you with a familiar, expectant look. Wanna come with me? Sure.
cool.
Carver began to head to your bedroom door. Am I ready? Should I? Should I make this a thing where he keeps on having to give me piggyback rides? I mean, it wouldn't be something I would naturally ever do, but the temptation, the temptation. It's too great, I have to. Should it be a special occasion or a normal thing? Let it be a special occasion. You shyly cleared your throat, trying to make Carver turn around. Could I have a piggyback ride? Carver didn't say anything, his eyebrows raised in disbelief.
Seriously?
Really, Rina? You want me to carry you downstairs? You nodded. Carver rolled his eyes, but he bent down so you could clamp onto his back. Even while he was crouched down, Carver's back was pretty high up, and it took a bit of effort for you to properly get up there. Carver wobbled as he straightened up, not terribly unaccustomed to balancing someone on his shoulders. Carver carried you downstairs. You had to duck down a couple of times, the ceiling grazing against your elevated head. Still, you had safely reached the ground floor of your house. The door's gonna be in the way, get off so I can open it up. He bent down to let you slide safely off his back. Seeing things from your usual high point was disorienting after getting accustomed to looking down at everything. In all excitement of Cover's return, you hadn't even remembered the gift you prepared for when he got back. It would be best to give it to him now, before he left your house. Can you wait here for a little while? I got something for you. Cover's eyes widened as he tried to conceal a smile. He toyed with the collar of his top.
Really?
Really? I mean, you didn't have to do that. You nodded with some eagerness, trying to imagine how he'd react when you actually saw it. Boy, this game is giving me some choices here. Wasn't something you could buy? What is it? A welcome back kiss? I don't know what this means, so... It was... A dolphin-shaped balloon. You ran up to the closet where you'd stashed the unwieldy animal-shaped balloon, preventing it from floating away. You guided it out like a prized seahorse from a stable, the string acting as the reins for the dolphin steed, and headed back to cover. You were careful, analyzing your surroundings for anything the balloon could be pierced by. It'd be awful if somewhat ironic, if the new balloon met the same fate as its predecessor. Carver stared at the floating creature as you approached. His lips parted as he seemed lost in the burrows of his mind. You could practically see flashbacks of childhood days flickering across his face. Then his eyes lit up, his mouth turning into a smile, as the connection fully clicked for him. But the initial look of kiddish giddiness quickly softened to a more mature expression. What did I do to make you care so much about me? That's a loaded question. I don't know. The 10 years we spent together. The question was genuine, though you wondered how you could ask that with such fondness and not have his answer. How could you not care for a man like that? You struggled with how to put that into words, settling for passing the balloon to its rightful owner. A couple of innocent giggles escaped from Cover as he took hold of the string. He stared up at the dolphin, awed. I remember the time we were 8. I'd gotten a dolphin balloon like this. It was thanks to you back then too. We started talking about names, then I crushed it and it popped. You know, for most people that would just be a funny story, something to joke about. But I have someone who thinks so much about me that I really wanted to make it better, even years later. Oh no, don't cry. Why would you cry now? He finally looked back at you, his eyes glossy but his smile wild and tender. He turned and tied the balloon loosely to a cabinet handle. Corbett looked around at the balloon with adoration. His eyes were brighter than usual, though his face was angled away from you. Oh no! You caught his eyelashes flustering as if he was batting away tears. His throat bubbled as he swallowed bubbling emotions. You know that cover could be sentimental. The gift and all the memories and feelings tied up in it seemed to have taken a toll on him. When you began to sniffle, you felt the need to reach out. Cover?
Rina.
I can't. I don't know what to do. He forcefully scrubbed at his eyes like he was trying to push the tears that had threatened to spill back in. Oh, Cover, it's okay. Do you need to cry? No, you do need to cry, apparently. This is... No. Nevertheless, tears had begun to spill down his cheeks. Even as you wiped them away, more took their place. Thank you. His voice quaked as he spoke. Cover scooped you into a hug, pressing you so tightly against his chest that your breath escaped a short squeak. He buried his face against your neck, his shed tears damp on your skin. You hugged him back. You're welcome. Cover let out a steady breath. It was far more removed from the shaky grasp that had accompanied his sniffles. The tears had dried. His eyes were a little red, but open and at peace once again. He smiled, fully recovered from the emotion that had overcome him. You're really, seriously too nice to me. You smiled back. You're worth it. Cover brushed his hand against the pale ghost of a scar on his arm. He was at a loss for what to do now. The clock ticked away, counting the seconds of silence. Once you had gotten a chance to settle your thoughts, you figured you would tell Cover the intriguing news. I saw Shiloh today.
Huh?
Shiloh? Cover repeated the name, his expression blank. From when we were kids. Cover pondered for a moment, then snapped his fingers. Oh, he was the furry boy from the first summer, right? The one who moved. Mm-hmm. I met someone called Shiloh. He just looked like Shiloh. From back then, well... You waved a hand, acknowledging the passing of time and so forth. Cover nodded understandingly. He didn't remember me, then he had to go. Cover frowned. That's, I don't know. Too bad I missed it. Though you knew him better than I did. That was definitely true. Not only had Cover known Shiloh for a shorter period of time, but he and Shiloh had never quite gotten along. Not that they were enemies either, just kids who were only ever together because of other people they both knew. I wonder what Shiloh's up to these days. Don't have any idea. He didn't say much.
Oh.
Oh well. That was everything you had on that news item, so you moved on to the next big update. Also, you know the mean old neighbors? The ones who would always yell at us? He cringed, recalling particular memories of back in the day. Was not pleasant even for someone as nostalgic as him. Yeah? They're not coming. They didn't even rent a condo this summer. Cover's jaw dropped. You didn't blame him. The elderly couple had been an institution for as far back as you could remember, long predating Cover's arrival. Even now as a teenager, you found your neck pricking as you walked by the condo, half expecting a scolding for breathing the wrong way in the vicinity of the vacation home. It was strange to think of that as coming to an end. Wow. Cover blinked, clearly struggling with the idea in the same way you had. I didn't see that coming. People being gone, people coming back. Feels like I've missed a lot. This has been a busy summer already. Well, you haven't missed the fireflies. They haven't shown up yet. Well, that's something. And we'd better not get left behind. There's still stuff to do. You nodded. As soon as you left your house, Cover bent down to let you climb back onto his back for the last part of the journey. It seemed that no sooner had the night begun that it was already at an end, and the dawn of a new day was soon upon you. The next morning your belly was full of breakfast, and you were in a pleasant mood. You hoped the rest of the day followed suit. Later you were meeting with your friends, Cover, Miranda and Terry, to go to town. It was all on short notice, but that was because everyone was just excited that Cover was finally back home. Having a nice daydream? You blinked, pushing all the thoughts away and returning to reality. Your mom was watching you with a teasing smile. So, what's on the agenda today? I'm meeting up with some people. Well, I hope you and your friends have fun, don't get into too much trouble. She winked at you. You both knew your moms wanted you to enjoy every bit of the summer before all the big changes started. I'll try.
That'd be great.
But before you go gathering around town, could you bring the mail in? I'm finishing up putting the dishes away over here. Alright. Thanks very much. As soon as you are outside your front door, you can't help but see Cover and his dad standing around in the road. They noticed you too.
Hey.
Hey there, Rina. Good timing. You should come and join us. Should I make it a thing to ruffle his hair? Should I make it a thing? What the heck, why not? Your action was quick and thoroughly messed his hair up. His face was red while he pouted and started moving his hair back into place. You noticed Mr. Hall was taking the scene of you and Cover with a self-satisfied smile. Cover followed your line of sight and shot his dad an unimpressed look. For a moment, Mr. Hawley seemed like he had the thought dancing on the tip of his tongue, but he decided to keep it to himself. So, what are you up to today? You held up the envelopes in your hand. I was getting the mail.
Right.
And we're meeting some friends in town in a while. You looked at Cover and nodded in agreement. Sounds like a plan to me. Yawning, Mr. Holden stretched his arm over his head. My boy and I have just been waiting around to see what the new neighbors are like. It was definitely his idea. I don't know how you're not interested in this, it's big news. Besides, it would only be polite to greet the new folks in town. Anyone has to be in a pattern. I don't know. That house could be cursed. We could keep getting ones that are progressively worse. He cracked a cheeky grin at his own joke. You could tell Mr. Holden was looking at the empty house, thinking about the nightmare that was the last tenants. He chuckled and turning to cough. But that would be horrible, knock on wood. Mr. Holden took one more glance at the currently vacant building and sighed dramatically. When he turned back to you and Cover, his whole body seemed deflated. There's no sign of them, and I still need to head over to work soon. Carver gave his dad a few reassuring pats on the back. Okay, I promise I'll keep an eye out. I can text you if anything happens. Really?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, only until I have to meet up with Terry and Miranda. Would that still work? With a wide grin breaking out on his face, Mr. Hall looked absolutely thrilled to have his nosiness enabled. That works. He moved to a firmly placed with both hands over Cover's shoulders, fixing his child with a firm stare. Son, you are my true ally in this world. Mr. Holland stood up straighter, letting Cover go. He looked I know that word, but reinvigorated, I think it's pronounced. Okay, with all that settled, I'll go make some money. That's always been the one thing I do best. Mr. Holden headed off to the garage with a big wave goodbye. Cover smiled the whole time you both watched his dad leave. He's really cool. I mean, he's flawed, but he's really cool. He always tried his best and was honestly just great. As soon as he was out of sight, Cover sighed lightly. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just not looking forward to waiting. Guess I'll be hanging around the street for a while. Yeah, just wait with him. Curiosity about the new tenant was getting the better of you, and you figured that the wait wouldn't be too much longer, and besides, you just couldn't leave Cover alone. Really? Of course, I like keeping you company, you remember? He stared at you for a moment, smiling softly and thinking about his response.
Too.
I like that too. Cover put his hands on his shoulders, gripping you solidly, but not enough to hurt. His eyes fixated on you just as firmly. He was serious. Oh boy, this is really gonna be one of those goddammit just kiss already moments, isn't it? Step 3 will be quite interesting in that way. Oof. Rina, you're my true ally in this world. That got a fair amount of chuckles from you. He grinned, the stoicism fading into amusement.
Thank you.
You're always good to me. You're lucky to have me. Ah, come on. Teasingly, Cover raised an eyebrow. You're the most lucky guy in all of Sunset Bird. Luckiest. For a moment you weren't sure if Cover was laughing at your declaration or that you momentarily forgot the word luckiest. Either way, you didn't mind. The smile on his face reached his eyes and it made you feel electric. And then he let go of you. Cover stepped over to his front perch steps, lazily taking a seat and leaning back on his arms. Our watch begins. Nodding in agreement, you joined Cover on the front perch steps. You both sat there in a comfortable familiarity as you settled in for the waiting game on the new tenants. The neighborhood was quiet, and you sighed contentedly, closing your eyes and feeling the light breeze. Eventually, you packed up at the sound of a car. A taxi followed the noise, turning onto your street. Cover's eyebrow raised at that side, and he sat up straight on the stoop.
Oh?
It has to be them, right? I hope so. Now that they were here, you couldn't help but feel just a bit curious. You wondered what kind of person would be living in the neighborhood for the summer. The taxi pulled to a stop as you expected, in front of the now empty condo. It was the same side of the street as your house, a few buildings further up. Without getting to his feet, Cover tried leaning and tilting his head to get a view of the passenger door as it opened. The single occupant exited the cab. Huh? You could feel what Cover was in that moment. After the last renters, this new visitor was definitely not quite what you expected. That's the last potential love interest, isn't it? What was he called? Baxter? So, anyway, this is a bit of a cliffhanger ending, but I really gotta end the episode here, so next time we will probably get Baxter's official introduction. So, until then, bye!